And Politico had what was nothing but a terrible article about this election. It's written by John Harris, and it had bias dripping from every sentence of the article. Okay, now why is this so important? Because the question is not what happened in elections, but how did the Democrats react to the elections? Okay, now as I told you before, they lost in Virginia because a significantly fewer percentage of Democrats showed up than they did in 2008. Now that has something to do with the fact that, of course, a national election and Obama's election was special and it energized people, but it also had to do, and you saw that it tracked into polling, that in how far the Democratic candidate went to the right. And the further he went right, the less Democrats said they were going to show up, and they didn't show up, and he got killed, right? Now, but they lost independents, so you have to figure out what the right strategy is. Now, the John Harrises of the world and the Washington conventional wisdom don't want you to figure out. They want the Democrats to do what they always do, which is panic, get scared, and run to the right. So here's how he's decided that he's going to help along with that. Let me quote you the second paragraph of his story. The off-year elections were in two big races, an unmistakable rebuke of Democrats, reshuffling Obama's political circumstances in ways likely to have severe near-term consequences for his policy agenda and the larger governance strategy. Now, before the elections, people were saying, these are kind of small governors races, back when Corzine might have won in New Jersey, et cetera, et cetera. In fact, they were fairly boring off-year elections, right? Now, after the Republicans won, they're huge victories with, unmistakable rebuke of the Democrats, as if Obama was running in the race, and that this will have severe consequences for his policy. So let's keep it going now, in case that wasn't clear enough. He says, independents took flight from Democrats. That's fair, actually, because they did, okay? And then he continues, they suffered humiliating gubernatorial losses in traditionally Democratic New Jersey, where Obama lent his prestige in a pair of 11th-hour campaign rallies Sunday, and in Virginia, which has been trending leftward, and just last year was held up as an example of how Obama was redrawing the political map in his favor. Now, look, some of that is fair. Yes, Virginia was trending leftward. Yes, New Jersey is definitely traditionally Democratic, okay? But humiliating gubernatorial losses, Corzine lost by about 4 points. Humiliating? Now, here's the thing. If I just read this by itself, you might say, all right, this guy is, he's strong with his language. No, but I remember his coverage, and I remember Politico's coverage in 2006 and 2008, when Democrats wiped the Republicans off the board in literally historic elections. They were not humiliating. They were not crushing. They were not soul-destroying. They were not any of that stuff. They were, it's an interesting trend. It's funny how those giant elections where the Democrats see 60 votes in the Senate and historic turnarounds in the House and very large majorities in the House. Those were interesting. That's something to take note of. We'll see how the Republicans adjust. And these two governor's races in 2009 are humiliating. Okay. And then he continues by saying, Tuesday night's trends were emphatically not in Obama's favor. Look, Obama went and campaigned for these guys, and so they lost. Is that relevant? Yes, it's relevant. You can talk about it. But emphatically not in Obama's favor? Obama wasn't in the election. Everybody in New Jersey hates Corzine. They don't hate Obama. They say it in the exit polls. They say, yeah, we like Obama, but we got to vote against this guy. We don't like this Corzine character, okay? No, it was an emphatic vote against Obama, if you listen to conventional wisdom and to Politico. And now here comes the most important part. Obama now faces a much tougher challenge persuading these mostly moderate Democrats to put themselves further at risk by backing such liberal priorities as expanding government's role in health care or limiting greenhouse gases. You got to understand, this is not an editorial. This is not opinion. This guy's pretending to write a straight news article. I mean, Rush Limbaugh wrote this article. The RNC wrote this article. You better go along with the Republicans. If you don't, oh boy, humiliating, crushing defeats are in your future. Tougher challenging, persuading those moderate Democrats to put themselves so further at risk They're going to be in risk, man. They better run to the right. Well, thanks, John Harris, for doing a news story on this. I appreciate it. And then he throws in a little bit of color later in the article where he says, State Senator Craig Deeds in Virginia, who was clubbed like a harp seal in a 17 percentage point loss to GOP nominee Bob McDonnell. Now, the thing is, the 17 points is a terrible loss. And when Santorum lost by similar numbers in Pennsylvania, I use similar language. So again, if you're doing an opinion piece, okay, well, that's a little bit more interesting, right? But I remember Politico's coverage. For example, when Santorum lost, he was not clubbed like a harp seal, okay? He was, well, Santorum lost, and we'll see what it does to his political career. What do you mean, we'll see what it does to his political career? His political career is over, O-V-A-H, right? But when Democrats lose, they're clubbed like a harp seal. I can't tell. Is he rooting for one side? Is he trying to push him to one side? I can't quite make it out. Okay, so if the Democrats, the real trouble for the Democrats, one is the independent loss, but number two is if they listen to idiots like John Harris. Okay, if they take him seriously and they get into that bubble thinking in Washington again, oh, we better not get anything accomplished. We better not deliver on our promises. We better not push for a real change that Americans voted for in 2008, because John Harris and Politico told me it'd be really dangerous for us. We'd be putting ourselves at risk. Better to go along with the Republicans. How did that work out for you in the 23rd District in New York? And this is the conventional wisdom that keeps leading us in the wrong direction that sickens me.